Last week, I spent 3 days in Dundee, Scotland, visiting 4J Studios with a bunch of other creators for the announcement of their brand new game. This is called Reforj, with a J. Finally, in today's video, I'm here to share with you some pre-alpha prototype gameplay. I got hands-on, and I have so much to share. I'll leave a bunch of timestamps on this video in case you're interested in a specific thing. A couple of things before we get into this. This is not a paid promotion. I wasn't paid to make today's video or to go and visit 4J Studios. We didn't have to sign an NDA. To be honest with you, 4J Studios were pretty open. They basically wanted some feedback from creators, basically asking us, what do you think of the direction we are taking this game? And I'm telling you now, you're about to be blown away. But remember, this is very early development. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you will be familiar with 4J Studios. In case you're not and you haven't actually played Minecraft, 4J Studios are the powerhouse company behind Minecraft Console Edition. That being Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, etc. Xbox 360 on its own selling upwards of 20 million copies. Collectively, across all of the Minecraft Console Edition universe games, selling over 70 million copies. Later on down the line, Mojang, Microsoft, and Minecraft decided to end the partnership with 4J Studios and introduce the Bedrock Edition engine. Since then, everyone's been wondering, what are 4J Studios going to be doing next? And that is Reforged. I will try and do my very best to not compare every aspect of this game to Minecraft, because of course, this is a voxel sandbox game as well. It has very similar aspects to Minecraft. With that being said, I asked the developers how they would feel being compared to Minecraft. And they said they open that. They're not opposed to being compared to Minecraft. However, there are certain aspects of Reforj that absolutely blow Minecraft out of the water. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Let's start with the main menu. As of right now, we only had access to playing survival or creative. You can see that mini-games are there. Later on down the line, 4J plan to introduce mini-games. Along with seeds, the seed system is very similar to Minecraft. I imported Echo. If you did the same thing, you would have the same generation. Loading into a game was pretty smooth. It was taking you like 10 to 20 seconds. There was no standing there and having to wait for the world to generate. You were straight into this. As for the lore behind this game, you generate in this futuristic environment and your aim is to survive. The gameplay that we got hands-on with didn't have any monsters or bosses or anything that's going to make your experience quite difficult. Those will come at a later date. But 4J Studios did share with us a concept of a monster called the Tunneler. Now, I don't have those images to share with you, so just use your imagination. It's gonna make life a little bit difficult. Since I was in survival, the aim of a survival game to start off with is to get yourself some materials. Now, ignore what I was doing to start off with. I was altering the shapes, which we will get into for building. This is absolutely incredible. You'll notice I switched to the ability to break things. Now, you're using your hand, which kind of has like a loading bar to break specific blocks. I can confirm that's a placeholder. This is not how you will break items. You aren't this almighty lord that can break down everything with your hands. I spoke to 4J Studios. They said, yes, a utility tool will be introduced. Now, talking about the utility tool, and I wrote down a couple of notes here. We don't know what type of tool this is going to be, whether it's going to be like an axe or a pickaxe or something completely different. But 4J Studios said that this tool, they're not entirely sure if it's going to have a durability, meaning that it would break over time. With that being said, they want to make it upgradable. I think they said introducing some kind of element that can make this have better abilities, whether it means breaking down the tree in one, whether it means breaking more than one block. Maybe it can do a whole range of different things. Now, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about a main tool not having durability. But then Stampy, who by the way is working on this, kind of outlines that in Minecraft, when you have tools and those tools are losing durability, it's just an inconvenience of going to repair it or to replace it. And I kind of understand that aspect. So I'm kind of 50-50 about this. If it's not going to have durability, I still feel like it should have some form of limitation. Every other kind of sandbox game or voxel kind of survival game usually has durability. If that tool breaks, you have to go and make a new one. So I would love to know your thoughts on that. Do you think weapons and tools should have a durability? Something else players will start out with is going to be an elytra. It was called a wingsuit. I think 4J Studios said at first it was a jetpack. That has now been changed. Now, if you've played any of Minecraft Console Edition minigames, you know how you glided and moved with the wings on Minecraft Console Edition. That is the exact same feel I had with this. It was so smooth. And talking about how smooth this was and is, 4J Studios ran a demo for us, going through their terrain incredibly fast, and it stayed at 60 FPS every single time. On top of that, it wasn't just with a player. They did this with an attack chopper. They did it with a jet. They did it with a speedboat. Those things weren't necessarily in the game. They implemented to prove to us how smooth this game actually ran. There was no pop-up of terrain, which, as you guys know, in Minecraft, if you're using wings or any form of transport, if you travel fast, you get to a barrier, then you stop and you have to wait for your chunks to upgrade and update. That was simply not the case with this game, and they were so proud to share that with us. I also want to talk about the player characters. This was probably my least favorite thing about the game, but I can't actually put my finger on why. 4J did show us that they are customizable. You can add beards, you can change the color of them. There will be a bunch of cosmetics you're able to put on their heads or on their back or on their feet, etc. They kind of reminded me of, you know, those wooden dolls that are really disconjointed? If you know, you know what I'm talking about. But these were my least favorite thing about this. They did say they will be tall, small, wider, etc. Before we get into my favorite thing about this game, which was building and how you build, once I kind of figured out how this worked, I sat there for so long, everyone around me was kind of forgotten about, and I was so focused on the gameplay. I seen Toy Cat make a video about this. Like, you got so indulged. It's definitely a game where you could sit there and also watch other people play, as well as playing this. Now, the game does come with caves. Caving will be a thing. You are going to have to go to the highest mountains to get resources, or the deepest depths to get specific materials. Now, they talked about something called Orium. Orium is like an upgrade thing, I believe, kind of like an XP system. It's not something that you're gonna just get from mining ores or killing monsters. You would get this for every single aspect of the game, whether it be, I think they said like digging, or they said like knocking down trees, possibly building. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm trying to remember. There was so much information at once. Just going to interrupt myself while editing this video. The breaking block aspect was brilliant. You could do this block by block, which would be relatively quick, or you could do this in lines of 3. If you did it in lines of 3, it would take a little bit longer to break because, of course, it's going to require a little bit more legwork. Now, you can turn this going right, left, up, round. You could do like a perfect staircase, which if you went all the way up, it would be smooth. If you went all the way down, it would be smooth. Just wanted to point that out. This would then be used for what the main part of the game is going to be, which is gateways. Now, these gateway structures were teased in the official art by 4J Studios, but were not accessible to us during the playtest. And I wrote down a couple of notes. I just want to talk about how incredible this system is. The worlds are not infinite. Now, before you go, here we go again, it's a repeat of Console Edition. No, 4J Studios nailed how this system is going to work, because as soon as they said that, I was like, man, it's not infinite. People are going to be disappointed. Let's use Earth as an example. If I started right here, ran in one direction around the whole entire world, eventually I would get to this exact position again. That is the case within this game. If you go in one direction, set up a starter point, a tower, you go around with your wingsuit in that location, you will end up right back where you built this tower. So, the problem that Minecraft has always had is that if you start a brand new world, or if you've had a world for a very long time, when a new update is introduced, number one, you get to a point where you stop exploring in your world. That can be quite frustrating. Number two, if you've already explored pre-existing chunks, You then have to go and find new chunks to enjoy the new features. I did this recently with the trial chambers. It was frustrating trying to find new terrain that hadn't been explored because you can never pinpoint the exact position that people have explored. So these gateways would be used to go to, let's say, a new update. Let's say the gateway took you to, let's say, a sky island, right? 4J introduced a sky island. You had to go through this gateway to get to that sky island. Let's say 4J introduced 10 new biomes. You could set up gateways to go to each and every single one. You could set up a gateway where the world was just sky islands, where it was just volcanoes, where it was just open ocean. You could set up as many gateways as you wanted. So if a brand new update was introduced, you could then set up that specific gateway to go to that location, which was an absolute genius way to do it. And this is where 4J Studios and their experience with Minecraft has actually come into play. They made the game. They could certainly see the limitations, and they've learned from that. Let's talk building, because I know building for a lot of you is most important in any kind of video game. It took me around about 30 minutes to pick up this game, and then I decided it was time to build. Everything starts in block form. You don't have to get blocks, then craft them into slabs, then craft them into stairs or walls and have a completely full inventory. We know there has to be some form of limitations. Before I teach you anything else, check this out. Building up was amazing. Kind of similar to the way Bedrock Edition works. If you place blocks in front of you, you can kind of speed bridge, etc. This was the same with building. There was no need to tower up. If you angled this correctly, you could tower this up really easily. And you can see as I started to get more confident how quicker this was. Now, they made the block placement very smooth, like console edition. Like, you went along with the block placing. There was no, like, skipping blocks ahead and having to stop and go back and break certain things. Now, this menu that you see here is where things start to get exciting. So the developers scaled this back for us creators because I believe Toycat said the first time he's seen this, he was incredibly overwhelmed with how many options there were. There was 9 different options. The top ones were used for block breaking. The middle ones let you sculpt them. It's called sculpting. You could sculpt them into curves. You could do them into triangles. There was a couple of different options. Slabs and stairs were also there. So to prevent not only the survival inventory, but also the creative inventory being overwhelmed with so many options, it all starts in block form. Like I said, limitations to start off with plans to expand. I imagine there will also be more options for, let's say, more advanced players. More advanced players like more options. But you can see here, I was like getting really into it. I was deciding how would this look. Oh yeah, by the way, there was sideways slabs as well. And that's what I was kind of poking around with here. But yeah, like I was just sat there on the couch while everyone was getting pizza. All the developers were around me. And I was just so fixated on building my first house and seeing how the designs would be. Here is the smooth block placing that I was talking about. I started to get a lot more confident. I was like, okay, let's alter this. Instead of going stairs for my roof, let's go with more of a slanted option, which is what I started to do. Like I mentioned, more of these options will be introduced. I imagine they'll do more at a later date, and I imagine upon launch, which by the way is probably expected as a first play test to the public in 2025 sometime. But don't quote me, this is really early development. I think they're like 6, 7, 8 months into development. As you know, video games take quite some time. I know a lot of people are going to ask, what is this going to be available for? They are making this on the most recent consoles, like Xboxes and PlayStations. It's being made for those versions first, but it will also be available on PC. I believe you can add this to your wish list on Steam already. The reason why is because they want to perfect it on console first and then go to PC. A lot of video games usually go to PC, then they go to consoles, then they go to mobile and things like that. Obviously, we know keyboard and mouse has so many more options than the controller. If they can nail it on console, which we have a lot of faith in 4J Studios because they perfected it on console edition, then of course when it comes to the PC version, it's going to be flawless. I have no idea on release. I have no idea on price. I don't know if it's going to be available on mobile. These are questions that we will ask later on down the line. At this point, I was in the creative experience. I just wanted to check out the biomes. I really liked the traction on this ice biome. Basically, I was trying to break the game, which me and Toycat did do at one stage. There was also the talk about these kind of campfires that can kind of protect players. But 4J said, when it comes to the whole day and night cycle, if you want to sleep during the day, you can. If you want to sleep during the night, you can. They don't want it to just be a factor of skipping nighttime or skipping daytime and things like that. But there was so much information thrown at me, I probably forgot a bunch of things. All I can say is be open-minded. This is prototype. This is prototype development gameplay. It's not a complete version. So I will hopefully get hands-on more in the future. I hope to go and visit 4J Studios again in the future. You couldn't go down when it came to swimming, by the way. You couldn't dive deep. Again, you could in creative mode, but I was just basically trying to get stuck and break things. But I was just so impressed. At first, I was like, it's hard to kind of grasp what this game is, but once you start playing it, you do start to appreciate the mechanics, especially as someone who adored and absolutely loved the console version. I think, and I do hope that the caves get bigger. They did have things like glowing mushrooms. They did have lava. They did have the ability to make torches. There was a whole bunch of materials that I was trying to learn, but I would like the caves to be more open more than anything else. There was a lot of caverns and crevices. Anyway, that's everything I want to say in today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy what 4J Studios are working on. They do have a mini-map on all the time. I really hope that players will have access to opening up this mini-map and setting waypoints and things like that. For now, it was just located on the bottom left. And what I'm breaking here, I believe, was called the Orium. I believe this is one of the materials which will be used in the future to do certain things. Anyway, have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. But I was impressed.